Anyway, so I guess kind of like the last thing I want to talk about for this one is the drones.
Yep.
So before I go into my spill, I want to hear both of y'all. Red, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on how and should they, like, how can they be used? How do you think one could be used for an advantage in gameplay or whatever? And also, and then after that, should it be used? Like, what are some ways you think it can be used? Either way, we can kind of move on to how about mines and stuff. So mines, tripwires, and landmines. So before we talk about, because I know you got plenty of ideas, stuff you want to talk about.
I got stories, yeah.
First, I would say most fields don't allow it. The fields that do, they will allow breakaway tripwires, which what that means is you barely touch the wire and it pops out from where it's connecting. That way it's not actually tripping anybody. That's their main fear with tripwires is tripping. But pressure would work technically, but one thing, no flour and confetti.
No.
Because some of us have several thousands of dollars in kit, and you throw a bunch of flour on us and it's like wet or whatever, and we can't throw that in the washing machine because then it just makes like a pasty mess. So don't use flour unless you plan on getting punched.
There's chalk, I think, so because we use chalk rounds with a
Somewhat
40mm.
Best thing to do is just get one that uses sound, not
Exactly.
not one
well,
that
and
has
a lot
powder.
of
Or
those
BBs.
A lot of those are easier too because the sound. It's just way easier to make a sound, and if you can shoot something, you can shoot BBs just as easily.
And you're not gonna make somebody mad.
Exactly. It doesn't really even if it was allowed, it's not really as practical as just having something that makes a sound.
No. So, like, the other thing is, okay, a pressure mine. How is that going to quite be useful in Airsoft? Because you got to think, if you're doing, like, a milsim event, most of the time you're not going to be able to get back to where you were to retrieve it. And so you're going to have to somehow figure out a time after the event to go out there and search for your mine that you placed, hoping someone didn't steal it. Good luck with that. The same way why you don't bring Thunder Bees or non-reusable or you do not bring reusable grenades to an event like AMS, Milsim West, or even local Milsim games, just because you're not going to be able to get back to get it. Tripwires are kind of the same thing, but the difference with the tripwire versus a pressure mine, you have to step on the exact spot. And for an outdoor field, there's not too many places for that. An indoor field, well, you can't really set it anywhere. And then also got to think about the AO and digging. You're not allowed to dig pretty much every field you've been to unless you're going to like a major milsim game like Milsim West or AMS, and even most of those you can't disturb the terrain.
That's what I was thinking of. Like if you set it in a doorway, well, I know I wouldn't say I'm looking for mines, but I'm gonna try not to step on whatever's on the ground.
Yeah, even if you put a board on top of it.
It might be someone's pistol or something. I'm not going to step on it. I'm probably going to intentionally step over it.
You could hide it in debris, but still, you're going to try to step over and step on it. You don't break your ankle.
We'll get to that in a second, but if you're going to hide it in debris, just use a frag.
That too, yeah. So tripwire is honestly better than for Airsoft. The other thing is, so for skirmish games is where they would come in handy, but a skirmish game, you don't really have time, and you can't leave it out until the next game.
Right, in a 20-minute game, you're going to manage to get out there.
By the time you set it,
set a mine
if you manage to
spot.
set it before you die, it just doesn't make sense. So I know you're wanting to share stories about it.
Oh, mines. I don't know. That's a really bad segue into this. Yeah, that'd be awesome. So, instead of just, I'll segue myself. So, several ways to make traps, right? So instead of just having like you're talking about with official mines and stuff that's tripwires that's designed for that. There's a lot of ways you can improvise mines with stuff that you are hopefully already going to have. So this obviously is a Thunder Bee. I don't actually think I have any of our other impacts. Do you have one of your impacts?
No.
Really accessible? I look at Jason coming.
Sorry about that. I had to change the battery again. Okay, back in business. Red's gone, but we're fine. We don't need Red.
Gone.
You ran away?
In this one, no, you're fine.
Because you're hiding.
What?
Because you don't have a plate carrier that makes you sit up right. I'm sorry. We're still... Okay, so...
Chesmix was a win.
So, moving on from that, Moose.
Talking about...
Yes, you talked a lot about...
claymores, tripwires.
Yes, like official, I don't know, mines and sort of mines that are designed to be mines. I'm going to talk about a little bit about some improvised stuff. So I say that I shouldn't maybe say that word on Airsoft podcast. Airsoft in Minecraft, Your Honor. So oh, should I go through how grenades work here?
Not a whole lot. Just essentially the same as a regular grenade.
So the grenade works here. I don't have a pin with me, right? But the pin is, and I pull the pin, it's still not going to go off, right? It only starts going off once the spoon detonates. Can I hold that close to your face? Once the spoon detonates, now I have 5 seconds to throw it, or it'd be really funny if this went off. Now I have 5 seconds to throw it, or and then it will detonate, right? So if I happen to say have my grenade set up, I pull the pin, and then I set it under something and set something on top of the spoon, it's not going to go off. Then if that something gets moved, now whoever just picked up that something has 5 minutes to get away before the frag goes off, right? So
5 seconds, not minutes.
Did I say 5 minutes? It says 5 seconds. Thank you, Jason. So I have a story about that from last time we went to JTC, the milsim event. I know you guys have heard it, but so we were tasked with. Well, actually, I'll start there with the setup. I'm defending a location. It's the CP, and I'm in a very good spot. And I get over the radio. Command to all 10 forces. You are to build a snowman at CP4 and defend it. What's your response? Or what's exactly the correct radio lingo for that? But
Yeah.
I'm like, command. Did you say build a snowman? Correct. Build a snowman.
Our
Okay.
objective is to what? Destroy the enemy snowman.
Yes.
You're like,
So, okay. So he says build a snowman and defend it. I'm already at the location that he's then defending the location we need to build a snowman at. So I go around to my other teammate. He happened not to have a radio. And I go around to him and I tell him, this is what's happening. He wants me to build a snowman. I get the same look in his eyes I had in mine. It's like, excuse me, what did you say? But I tell him I'm going to build a snowman. And, can you watch me? Yeah, he's covering me. Cool. So I go start building up my snowman. And we start defending it. We get attacked. After the firefight, there's kind of a lull, right? Jason mentions
After you shoot me, I mentioned.
Okay, wow, I did actually friendly fire you. So Jason mentions later. He says, "Are you within grenade throwing range of the snowman?" And so I'm like, "No, wait a second.
wait a minute.
Wait a minute." So I go back to my snowman. I take the torso and head off. And actually, I can get you the pictures for this.
Okay.
If and when you upload it of the snowman itself. And also, if I give you my footage, you could also include that. But
yeah.
I go take off the torso and head of my snowman, and set my frag up, pull my pin, kind of make a little nestle for it, set my Thunder B down in the snowman, set a log on top of it, set the torso and head back on top of it, and now I have their objective is to destroy our snowman.
So the moment they destroy it, which is probably just going to be some guy kicking it.
Yeah, if they kick the snowman, they move that log, they have 5 seconds before it goes off. Someone said, well, isn't the snowman, want that destroyed anyways? Yeah, if they kick it, the snowman's gone though. This is to make the snowman go out in a blaze of glory, right?
It's our vengeance.
Yes,
I
exactly.
think there was too much snow, too cold
yeah,
for
it
it
got
to
too
work.
cold. Later, it did get destroyed. But it's too cold. I mean, I literally buried it under snow. It's Thunder Bees. They don't like working in the cold.
No.
But later, I tried the same thing with a mannequin. You guys were there for that. But for Bob,
Oh, yeah.
our objective is to have put a.
He throws a grenade in my
protect
face.
the VIP. Our objective is to protect the VIP, right? We get him to the building, the objective building. We have the VIP set up.
MVP,
and
but yeah.
it's close enough. No,
Or
very,
HVT.
very important. person.
HVT. High value target.
High value target. So anyways, so we have them set up, and I'm like, I think I can try this again. And Moose, you're like, no, I don't think that's a good idea.
so I'm like, okay, you do that, I'm gonna leave. So I leave the building I walk out the front door to get a defensive position.
Yeah.
And then
So yeah, he's like, I don't think that's a good idea. I'm like, it'll be fine. So I find that I can't get it set again. I get the HVT, set him up in the corner, slide the frag under him, right? We're fine. He's weighing down the spoon, and then the frag rotates. And then I'm like,
oh no.
So I hear a click, and I pick him up, and I see this laying there. And I'm like, oh. So I pick it up and toss it out the window.
In my face.
And then
It lands in front of me. I'm like walking out. I'm like, okay, no bad guys. Plop. Ah! There's a grenade.
Could have at least warned you.
Yeah.
Drag out.
I'm walking by like no enemies. Hey, we're pretty good. We're doing good. Thump.
We are no longer good.
No
my
longer
improvised
I'm
trap
like,
did
why?
not work there.
I had no clue where it came from.
Yes,
It took me a second to register. I'm like, oh wait.
Frags are falling.
And then
from the
luckily
sky
I heard. It was like luckily a thunder bee did what thunder bees do, and it
in the
just
cold.
I'm like,
Yeah.
whew.
So, stories aside, lots of improvised work there you can do with just anything you might have on
Yeah.
you for
As
for a
far
regular
as
field day.
practicality goes, that is the only
I'd say it's very
practical way. I'm saying, yeah, that is
Yeah.
the only practical way. Because,
Yeah.
like, trying to set up landmines or tripwires or whatever, like I was saying, you're not really going to be able to get back for it
yeah.
or leave it there. But if it's at a position that you're
Yes.
already supposed to be defending.
Exactly, and in both instances, either way, like you said, we're at a position where I'm supposed to be defending.
Yeah.
If the objective gets taken, I'm probably dead anyways, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm gonna respawn. I'm gonna take my frag,
Yeah,
or I'm
yeah.
gonna pull my dead rag. When I go back to spawn, I'm gonna pick
Or
up my frag and then walk
ambush. Like, they're coming, like, for example, let's say the
Yeah.
ammo crate. They're coming to get the ammo crate. Okay,
Yeah.
set that under the ammo crate,
Yeah.
back off a little
Exactly.
bit, hide in the bushes.
Either way, though,
don't
I'm
do
planning
anything.
on staying at the objective location for a
Exactly.
while, right?
So
it
they
won't
come
matter.
by, pick up, and they're like, hey, I guess they left this here.
Yeah.
Woo, freebie. Pick
Yeah.
it up, boom, as they're
Yeah.
going on about that, you guys pop up, pop.
And it's one of those that at worst, what do? It never goes off. I go pick it back up, put my pin back in, and I've got
Yep.
a frag, right?
Yep.
So it's that is probably one of the most practical ways to do that. Here I am about to drop my frag. So that is, and you can do that. There's a lot of different ways you can do that. I've seen obviously both times I did with objectives. But there's ways you can do it.
you can technically make that a tripwire.
I've seen a lot of old school methods where they'll pull the pin, hold the spoon down, stuff it in a can, or have a paracord tie around the spoon, and then have the paracord tie tied to something else. So then when they trip through the trip wire, it pulls the paracord tie off what's holding your spoon down, and then it goes off.
Or
I've seen a
honestly,
lot of really improvised
same
methods with
thing.
that.
Take the pin and just tie the paracord around the pin, or fishing wire around the pin, tie on the other side, and if you make sure to get a really loose pin,
Yeah.
like normally you wouldn't want to do this for a grenade,
or half pull it out.
or even half pull out, but you get a loose one or a half pull it out, put it here, so then guess what? Now it's a breakaway.
Yeah,
Which is
exactly.
also what fields require.
Yeah.
So then they kick through it, pulls pin,
Yeah.
this goes off, and goes off.
Yeah.
Technically, there was the thing I saw with turning one of these into a impact grenade,
Yeah.
which for that one, there's like a small magnet here that holds this on, and then when it hits something, it will pop off because the magnet's not that strong.
Okay.
And then this, as soon as it goes down, it hits the blank, and then it goes off.
Cool.
So, technically speaking, if you wanted to make it an instant tripwire, you just put something here. Like, technically, you could have something here, and then it goes like an L shape, so as soon as they put tension on this, that then pops off, instantly goes off.
Yeah.
Because then you don't have the delay that they can escape.
Exactly. So this is pretty cool. A lot of it is just understanding your tools, understanding how your tools work. You know, what can I do with this that's outside of the box, right? I can pull this, I can throw it, that's cool. But I can also, I understand my tools and how they work. I can set up some other crazy stuff with it.
Yeah.
So it's things like that.
It's really cool.
some
Some
of the other-
ideas you can do with it.
Do you have any of our impacts available?
I want to definitely look at doing, like, just trying to like experiment with some more stuff.
So here, is this ready to go?
Yes, actually it is.
Okay, so I'm not going to play with it too much. So, oh yeah, it is. So with impacts as well, you can do kind of the same idea, but it won't go off until it hits something hard enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to get much more creative with them because you can't just pull the pin and it goes off. But I've thought of, well, if it hits anything hard enough, it goes off.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen, think about propping it like having a door partially open, and I actually almost did this at JTC last time, but the door opened the wrong way and they would have been able to see it. You remember in the barn? But you pull everything, prep it, right? You have a live frag, have the door propped open slightly and set it on top of the door, right? So then as soon as the door gets, if it gets open slowly, it might not go off, which actually is kind of a bonus in my opinion. But if it gets forcefully open, frag falls, it goes off, right? You've just made a mine. It's more of a booby trap than it is a mine. But there's several ways you can do that. You'd have to get really ingenious with some paracord to do a whole lot else.
Honestly,
as far as hanging it and having it drop whenever, I don't know. You'd have to get pretty.
Like there's ways, like
Yeah.
for example, like even still using a Thunder Bee versus an Impact. What you can do is if you set up something, so much like the Snowman, to where they have to move something, whether it's a door, a stick, a rock, whatever, that they move it. And if they're not listening for it, they won't really hear the sound of the click.
Yeah.
And even if they are, they wouldn't know exactly where it was.
Yeah.
So as long as it's where they move it, thing goes off, 3-5 seconds goes by, it goes off. They're sitting there like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Oh wait, that
This
was
is-
a grenade.
Yeah. This is something I'm really looking forward to doing a lot on the field,
Me
especially
and Traveler.
carrying Thunder Bees and or fuse frags and impact frags, so that I have my options open.
Options, yeah.
Because when we're playing airsoft, it's one thing that I actually really want to get involved with more, so people start checking more. But playing airsoft, no one thinks about booby traps or anything. You know?
No.
But you get up to a door.
100%.
You get up to a door. The only thing you're worried about is a guy being on the other side, right?
Yep.
So no one ever even looks. I bet with some really simple ingenuity, you could trick
Tripwire
even
or
some-
whatever,
yeah,
you stay in the back of the room instead of being just
Yeah.
in that front room. You stand in the back.
to counter ambush.
They
them when
trigger
the fight
it.
goes off. Yes.
Even if it doesn't kill them, or if
Yeah.
it kills the first person, but the guy's behind it. Now they're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Now they're.
Now you've got to count.
Now you got
counter ambush
exactly.
them. So, yeah. So, even I bet even with some really simple ingenuity, you could trick some of the best players, because who checks for
No one.
mines
No one.
or traps
Non-airsoft.
in
Because mainly
airsoft,
because
right?
most places like tripwires aren't allowed.
Yeah,
But that's tripwires.
Even simple enough like the door that I said, you can see it if you're looking for it, right? If you you have your door. I can't see. I'm pointing at the door. If you have your door set up though, if you come up to that door and check the top, oh, that's it, a frag. Take it, set it on the ground. You've disarmed it, right? Or like the snowman. Actually, the guy that destroyed it, he didn't kick it. He like dolphin dove into it.
If you want
But
to
if
get
you-
really.
But if you're doing the snowman, wait a second. If you're doing that snowman, if you instead of just kicking it, then my trap goes off. You take the torso off. You see the frag. Now you can hold down the spoon, and now you disarm. Now you have a frag. You know? So there's some ways you can disarm it pretty easily.
Yeah. Another thing to kind of think about is kind of like a cunning thing. So Thunder Bee shells, they're non-reusable, so you use it and they're expended. However, what if you carried a couple of them with you? So then, for example, we had one mission block for Battlegrounds at T1 where we had to locate and then protect intel. It was just like electronics, like some of them were laptops, some of them were like cameras or something.
I remember that.
So imagine you take a Thunder Bee, you lay the Thunder Bee down. Let's see, I think we're good now. Yeah, so then you lay the Thunder Bee down, and then it's like on top, so like it's set as the booby trap, right?
Yeah.
So then what you can do is take some of your expended shells, like even just one of them, and drop it next to it. So when they come in there, they're going to see, there's the intel I need, there's an expended shell. So when they pick up that intel and they see the Thunder Bee sitting there, they're like, oh, it's just an expended Thunder Bee, because you already told them somebody has thrown
Yeah.
Thunder Bees in here.
That's pretty good.
And so in their mind, it's just an expended shell that someone didn't
And
get
then
their
it goes
core
off.
yet.
Yeah.
And then it goes off.
Yeah.
I mean, that is especially true if somebody's got some greedy fingers and they pull off like, oh, free Thunder Bee core. Pop.
Oh.
Ah. Keep my hands to myself after that one.
Right.
What? Oh. Good catch.
Sure, wait a second. We're talking about check for traps here. I roll check for traps.
Not one.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I guess kind of like the last thing I want to talk about for this one is the drones.
Yep.
So before I go into my spill, I want to hear both of y'all. Red, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on how and should they, like, how can they be used? How do you think one could be used for an advantage in gameplay or whatever? And also, and then after that, should it be used? Like, what are some ways you think it can be used?
Main thing I can think of could be used just reconnaissance,
Mm-hmm.
and then potential if they rig it up the right way, a grenade drop.
Okay.
That'd be
But
so fun.
Then yeah,
why
if it should.
they should not be used because if most reconnaissance, awesome, but even then you run the risk of people. Okay, they're reconnaissing me, shooting your drone.
Mm-hmm.
Then you cannot prevent that from. You cannot prevent anyone. You can say the rules as much
You
you
can
want.
say the
but
rules as much you want.
Yeah, but if it's
gonna happen.
armed with like if you do armor to do like drop a grenade or something, people are going to
Someone
want to
shoot
shoot it.
Even if
then-
they just get salty and mad and temper gets the best of them,
Yes.
these are overgrown
Then
children.
if it's just reconnaissance,
I guess.
honestly, you need a way to allow people to You need a way to allow people to stop it from reconnaissing them if they see it. Otherwise, it's an unfair advantage.
That's also because then dead players can still see what's going on.
Exactly. Versus if it's a scout that's reconnaissing, you can take out the scout. Or if it was real combat, someone sees a drone sky over them, they shoot it down.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's kind of unfair in that
Then
way.
so Nate, what are some uses you can see it being used for, and then should it be used?
Okay, so for footage, just recording. I
Just
think
straight
there's
recording,
absolutely zero problem with that.
Yeah.
I think it could be an issue. I think we've talked before. But I think it could be an issue about people shooting it down when they're not supposed to. But like we said, you can say it in the rules, it's still gonna happen. For actual gameplay advantage, my opinion is that for the game to be fair, any sort of anything like that gives it an advantage should be able to be fought. So something like that that you said.
Like in some fields, they'll do like extra things, like for example, what do they call it?
A juggernaut.
A juggernaut
Yeah.
type game, where let's say one team has an ATV.
Yeah,
of some kind.
exactly. So that to me fits into that category.
Yeah.
So it's an extra advantage that one
an
team
extra
has.
game element.
Unless both teams have it, then you're fine, right? But if one, or still, I think that the average player should be able to fight it somehow. So if you, and I can't think of a very good way, because obviously you don't shoot your own shot down. I can't think of a very good way to say to have the average player be able to counteract a drone. You could say, oh, go find the drone operator, but you know more about drones than I do. I know you're supposed to stay line of sight within the rules, but
You get a guy in a ghillie suit. who's
right,
laying down
that's
like-
exactly what I'm thinking. That,
I mean, sniper.
or think about ESR. Line of sight is the whole field. I mean, you can literally sit at our spawn and see the guys in their spawn,
Which
and
it's not close
and
either.
it was
It's
a
just-
mile.
It's
It's
just
just because it was so flat. So I mean, literally, if we had a drone, we could have flown it over their fob. Oh, how many guys are in their fob, right? So still, just saying go find and shoot the drone operator doesn't work. I can't think of a very good way for that to be balanced on its own. It's not like you're coming into a field, with a riot shield, but saying, if it takes 5 BBs, it's destroyed, or if it gets hit by a 40 millimeter, it's destroyed. You're coming into the field with something that basically can't be balanced on its own. The only way I could see it being balanced is if the game operator, if the people running the game really knew what they were doing, and were like, set up a laptop on the field, and we're like, if you, okay, green team has a drone, and they're surveilling,
So each team has an operator.
Well, you have green
It's like a
team.
staff
Green
operator.
team has a drone they're spying on. They're getting surveillance on tan team. If all of a sudden the game coordinator puts a laptop in a specific building and says, tan team, if you acquire that laptop, they
It's
can't
your-
use their drone anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Or it's now yours.
Well, because
Like,
now,
let's
now
say
we're,
it was
now we're
staff
talking about someone
operated.
else's. There maybe that could be fun, but if it's like if a player brings a drone, then that doesn't work.
That's
'Cause
true.
It's their,
That's true.
it's their property. You can't do that, right? So that's one thing I've thought about. But then you're telling the game coordinator, then the staff, to balance the thing that you've brought to the field instead of allowing
yeah.
of allowing the game and other players to balance their own
Yeah.
stuff for you. So I think with a really good game coordinator or event,
Some type of rule set.
yes, and with a really with approval, and we've gone over rules about, if this team acquires a laptop at this building, then the drone can't be used anymore. There's some way to fight it, and of course, it have to be a building that's fair. I think it could be really fun because it adds, a side quest that now the tan team can go on. They can go and fight the actual objective, or they can go and try and hit the building with the drone operator's computer in it, or I think it could be really fun. And then in the meantime, the green team gets,
So
it's
it's either made as
really
part
cool
of it, but
interaction,
then you're still looking at, then that brings a problem to like
But-
if somebody brings
yeah.
their own type of a
But
conversation.
But to that is without a really good game coordinator and really good a way to balance it, I think it totally gives an unfair advantage to one team.
Yeah.
Or
My thought was just
It just
will
makes it
end
not fun.
in the drone being destroyed by someone shooting it.
Yeah. So
I think if you talked about it enough, the drone wouldn't get destroyed.
It depends
especially
on
if one
the-
team feels like they're getting the other team.
it depends on the
advantage.
event. If it's like,
Yeah.
for example, like an AMS thing where people want to go back to other AMS events that either being banned from the event and or being kicked off after spending so much money on tickets and
Yeah.
stuff, then being told don't do this or else you're out of here for good,
Yeah.
that has a lot more pressure than saying don't shoot at my drone at my field, otherwise you're not coming back to my field. If you're talking to a 15-year-old punk kid that wants to cause problems and you're telling him you don't do this or you're not coming back to my field, that's going to mean next to nothing to him.
Yeah.
Versus a milsim veteran guy that's coming to AMS every year since he was 2 years old.
Yeah.
Type of a
So,
my turn.
Your
turn. I actually got some.
I also want to hear what your opinions are on my opinions.
Okay. So I actually got some authority to speak about this because I am a Part 107, FAA Part 107 certified pilot. What that means is I've taken the time to take classes, courses, and take and pass a test to obtain my Part 107 license, which once again is through the FAA. For a lot of you who don't know what that is, the FAA stands for the Federal Aviation Administration. Essentially what they are is they maintain the safety of the airspace and aircraft in it for the United States, which includes personnel like a commercial or recreational pilot all the way up to military. In fact, a lot of the so essentially if it's a regulation for airspace and air safety, it was looked at and approved or created by the FAA. So that's who they are. This is like federal level. They are the boss when it comes to things in the sky. So they're the big boys. And so as far as having authority of stuff, since I am a certified pilot through them, what that means is I can actually act as a pilot in command for different events. So the main thing is that, for one, I can fly commercially, so I can fly and get paid for it, but also if you don't know if you need a Part 107 or not, essentially you can ask yourself this question: am I flying with a purpose other than fun? If you're going out to fly your drone just to look at some trees and fly around, take some cool pictures to put on your desktop home screen, okay, that's fine. But if you're going out, even, for example, a lot of farmers were asking this, can someone get a drone just to go out and count their cows? Well, that's using it for your business, because your farm then is your business, and going out there counting your cows, that would be for a purpose otherwise than fun, meaning you would need a Part 107 license to do that.
This seems incredibly subjective. What if I count my cows for fun?
If you're doing it for a purpose otherwise than blatantly fun, it's, yeah.
I really enjoy counting my cows, man. It seems really subjective.
If you have a drone and you're having fun and your neighbor has a bunch of cows and he wants to come over just so you can help him count with them, you couldn't do that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
No.
Airsoft, there is some fine lines and some gray area there regarding that point, because, okay, if you are taking pictures and stuff that the event managers and stuff will then use on their website for promotional stuff, you would need your Part 107. Otherwise, you and possibly even them are at risk of lawsuits and stuff from the FAA. Or not lawsuits, it would be fines. Because they are using footage that's commercially used that was filmed by a non-licensed pilot. Essentially saying like the same thing in a movie. You have a safety guy there who's doing like ordnance, detonations of stuff, and he doesn't have a license to do it. It's like bad.
Yeah, that is an issue.
And so same way with the FAA. So a lot of people think the FAA with the drones is just a bunch of guys pointing out, making rules that they want for money. Well, not quite, because one, they don't make money from it except for the licenses themselves. What it is their main goal is safety. And so, yeah. And so, what I'm fixing to talk about is the safety and stuff. So for one, all the regulations that goes with it has to be known for recreational or certified pilots. And so what that means is, even if you are not a certified pilot, you still have to abide by the regulations. It's just, since I am a Part 107 pilot, I can do it commercially, and I can act as a pilot in command for an event, let's say like a movie or something. I can go there, and then the pilot who's controlling the control station, plus the other helpers, they do not need a license if I'm present, because I'm the acting pilot in command. So I would be taking authority and responsibility over all of that. So if, however, these guys bought a drone, because you don't need a license to buy a drone, and they want to go out and fly it, let's say for airsoft, for surveillance purposes, that is the gray area as with purpose or whatever. If you're not using it commercially, it would be fine. You're out there having fun in the airsoft field, okay, gray area for that. However, there are other regulations you have to abide by. airspace. Okay? Can't fly in restricted airspace, mainly due to airports, which guess what? It has to do with safety. Also, same thing with how high you can fly it. There's an altitude limit of 400 feet, AGL, that's above ground level, for certified and non-certified pilots. So if you go past your regulation for that, you can get in a lot of trouble, including fines, having a thing put on your name to where you can never get a license, and also including jail time depending on how severe it is. Like if you start trying to fly over a military base because you think, oh, I'm just going to fly over their airport to get some cool pictures of their planes. No. In fact, and that's the other thing I'm getting at, is he was saying, good luck getting your drone out there without somebody shooting it down. Because you're going to have some kid or some veteran that's going to get upset that that's unfair, I don't like this ruins the game. They're just going to try to start shooting it out of the sky. There's going to be some kid who's like, look at me, guys, ha ha ha, psh, ha ha ha, psh. Yeah, it's a very real danger. Here's the thing. This is also falls in the same category as people asking, hey, if my neighbor or somebody has a drone and they're flying it in my backyard to spy on me, can I shoot it down? The answer is no. You cannot shoot it down, even if they're spying on you for malicious intentions. Go ahead. Alright, sorry, I had to switch out batteries. He's come back, thank you, Red. So, I was talking about shooting drones out of the sky. It's not allowed. So even if they're spying on you for malicious intentions, you are not able, I don't know what just happened, you are not able to shoot the drone out of the sky or make jammers or of any other kind to block the drone signal or any of that stuff. Because, once again, that is a safety issue. That drone, now that it is damaged by a gunshot, BB shot, or signal is jammed, that means the pilot no longer has control over it. The drone could do whatever, which means it could fly above 400 feet, which then is going to encounter aircraft with people in it, or it could crash land and hit a car, a person, and cause more damage and injury. And so you are not able or allowed to shoot the drone out of the sky, whether they have malicious intentions or you're at the airsoft field and you have malicious intentions. Either way, you cannot shoot or jam that drone at all. For those of you wondering about the malicious intentions part, if there is a neighbor or somebody using their drone to spy on you and you got good reason to believe that they're using it to spy on you and they're not just flying around your property to take a picture of something on their property, well, contact your local law enforcement agency and ask them to deal with it, because then there's privacy laws and stuff that they can then do stuff with, because once again, drones is airspace, that's FAA, not law enforcement. So technically, if I fly my drone over someone's property, I'm not trespassing, because you do not own the airspace above your property. Similar to how most places you don't even own the mineral rights. But some people can actually buy their mineral rights, but nobody owns the sky, apart from the FAA. And so I can technically fly over anybody's property and not have any problems except for privacy laws. And so there is fine lines in there. So on my end, I can't be malicious trying to fly over your property to spy on you or do anything, or to scare you or cause problems, and I should ask before doing so.
I have questions about that.
Yes.
So it sounds like, right, if I'm on my property and I'm using binoculars staring at you through your glass wall in your house,
you're not trespassing.
I'm not trespassing.
But that's privacy laws.
But I'm breaking privacy laws.
Correct.
So that would apply under the same, that is the same situation as drones?
Yes, because you yourself are not trespassing.
Right, I'm on my property.
The drone flying over, also not trespassing, because that's the airspace. However, privacy laws.
Yes, okay.
And so that's where law enforcement would be able to intervene, even though that would be an FAA thing regarding the drone. So what they would do is they would then question the pilot about privacy stuff, look at their footage and all that, give them warnings and stuff, and if worst case, they'll bring it up. FAA can then look at stuff as well and get the pilot banned from stuff, get their license revoked, or any of that junk. And of course, the person can get fines and stuff. But let's say you do shoot the drone out of the sky, whether it's with a BB gun, real gun, or jam the signal. Guess what? Now you're going to federal prison, and or very large fines. And so it's like, is it really worth it?
Is that just commercial drones or even the civilian
Any
drones?
drone. There is a slight difference to that, because technically you can find these Category 1 drones, which are drones wearing a significantly lightweight, like less than 250 grams, or less than 249 grams, has completely enclosed blades, and can't fly out of visual line of sight for any reason. But still, you can't just shoot it out of the sky or jam it. But those drones are not the ones people worry about, because those you can't even, like the signal of that drone, I wouldn't be able to fly it from here 50 yards for those little bitty cheap things like that. So those aren't the ones people are worried about. They're worried more about like the ones, I have a DJI Mini 4 Pro, which is what I use professionally. Those are the types of drones that people are worried about, because those are the ones that can fly technically 5 miles out. Just battery life, I'm not bringing it back that 5 miles. But yeah, in open air, I can fly it that far. I can fly it as high as the drone will let me with wind and stuff, but once again, legally can't go over 400 and stuff like that. But with drones like this, especially, the FAA classifies it as a UAS, unmanned aircraft system. They classify the drone as an aircraft. It's an unmanned aircraft. So if you shoot out of the sky, they look at that the same level of severity as if you are shooting at an airplane passing over.
Is that the same, like, do the same rules apply to, like, a remote control plane?
That I'm not sure of.
Or, like, bottle rockets? Like, if I make a really good bottle rocket that shoots above 400 feet, am I, like, committing a crime to the FAA? Is that an unmanned aircraft?
That is a different realm, but possibly. Because that's insane. Because helicopters, for example, fly around 400. They usually are not supposed to go below 400.
Wow.
The exception would be like military routes and medivacs. But most like other helicopters have to stay right above 400, but they're close.
That's not what they're called.
Now back to the airsoft side of things. What are your thoughts about one being used on a field?
So
You said the legal side. Now
yes.
What are your thoughts about?
So that's the
airsoft?
other thing. So for one, as a certified pilot, my concern with using it on the field, both legally as well as use, is so for one, what do people want to use it for? Recon. That's if they don't want to use it for recon, they want to drop something from it. Which, okay, to drop something from it, legally, you can't really do that if it poses a threat. So, like, technically, you can somewhat get away with dropping a grenade, maybe. Because there's some things, like, you can't have a payload of, like, bad chemicals, for example, or stuff like that, which the grenades may, do that. Like, our grenades technically pyrotechnics, so even that may not be allowed.
I just assumed it'd be heavy enough, like it's like hitting someone in the head with a
You can
rock.
get bigger drones that can do that.
Well, no,
but
it'd be hitting someone.
That's
like,
the other
drop
thing.
it on someone.
So technically, you're able to do that to an extent, like picking up BBs and dropping BBs, for example. Technically, you can do that legally.
Okay.
But if it has a possibility of hurting someone, then no, you can't do that. But if it's BBs in a controlled environment, in an airsoft field, okay.
But still, then for recon purposes, what are your...
For recon purposes...
Yeah, not legal side, but your personal thoughts about someone coming
Well, that's what I'm going to talk about, is the legal side, because as far as games-wise, I think it's cool. That's what the drone would be used for. It's a UAV.
Well, but what do you think about, like, what I said, with it being balanced?
With it being balanced, same thing. But once again, for just the recon in general, thing is for recon, most airsoft fields, I don't know how you're going to use it, or milsim events even, because for flying the drone commercially or recreationally, certified pilot or not, you need to maintain, like you said, visual line of sight.
Yeah.
You have to see the drone the entire time, which also puts a limit on FPV drones. Some people have talked about kamikaze drones. Can't do that.
Yeah.
And so FPV drones would be also a hard thing to use for something like that. So, okay, just a scout drone, a UAV drone, the pilot, has to maintain visual line of sight of the drone the whole time, with the exception of using a visual observer, which is like a helper, but I'm not sure how that comes into play with non-certified pilots. I think you still have to, as the pilot, maintain visual line of sight unless you are a certified pilot.
Okay.
I could be wrong on
What
that.
was like your thoughts as a player?
But as a player, I'm on the same page of Nate. Since you can't shoot it out the sky, since you can't jam it, because in theory the plan would be to make it balanced, which is the main thing. So, okay, if you got a cheap enough drone, you didn't mind it being shot, or like it's cheap and easy to fix it, you didn't mind it being shot, okay, fly it around, and if they can shoot it, then it's okay.
That would
then
be
it's
okay.
out.
Yeah.
Or
It
if you
would-
can make
yeah.
a small jammer that could then jam the signal of the drone, it drops out of the sky. Okay, cool. But you can't do either of those legally.
Yep.
There is an exception. If somebody was able to make a drone that there's a certain like a button that you push that just makes the drone land safely.
That would be cool.
And each team had like a button like that and it had
Yeah.
a certain range.
Mhm.
That to an extent could be used, but
that
if it's
could be cool.
that
Okay,
that
yeah.
Especially because
could
you only have so many
maybe
buttons
work.
per team. You'd have it a drone operator and an anti-drone operator in the
Yeah.
team.
pretty much.
See, that would be pretty cool.
That could be okay, but then
Yeah.
that requires someone that knows how to work with all that stuff, and it's
That actually would be a cool idea for like some gameplay of like one person operating the drone, one team,
Mhm.
then you got the anti-drone guy who's doesn't have one person on your squad, and your mission is to get him to the drone.
Or I like the idea of it's a staff control thing, so people can't bring their own, which also helps limit people shooting it and
Yeah.
people people breaking the rules.
Yeah.
So ideally, you would have a certified pilot operating it. What you could do is then have the pilot, a couple of visual observers, other staff out there on the field, so he can go beyond visual line of sight of him, so he can technically go then across the whole field with radios and
Yeah.
stuff. And then, so you have the drone team that's staff controlled, and then
Either team
players
shoot it down.
have to
with the
complete
jammer.
fragos
Yeah.
or some other type of mini mission that then they gain control of that. So
Yeah.
essentially, the pilot or a radio operator with him gets to call out to whichever team has control
Mm-hmm.
enemy positions.
See, so I feel like you could almost do that and just remove the drone. You have admins around the field. Let's say,
Possibly.
tan team completes an objective and they get the bonus that is, a UAV. Now you just have admins all over the field. The admins can just call out,
And that would limit a lot of the legal stuff. with
command
drones.
says UAV, UAV.
It's a
spots
different
3
feel for the
hostiles around this
UAV, though.
objective, right? I
But
guess
it
it'd
would
be
help
cool.
with a lot of the legal stuff.
Yeah, I feel like you could just do that and just remove the drone entirely.
Theoretically,
with
yeah.
admin's line of sight.
Or even just set up cameras somehow,
Yeah.
like wireless cameras or something. Excuse me, but so for the drones used in airsoft, it would be cool, but one, it would have to be balanced, and it's hard to balance it by keeping it legal.
I was gonna say either way with what you were saying. We're talking about lots of admin and game producer.
Lots of admin,
like,
game
interference.
producers, and a
It's
lot
not-
of
yeah.
legal possible issues.
It's not like something that you bring a frag to the field. What's the counter to a frag? For one, another frag, but also running. Like any average player can beat that.
and you
right?
can't do that with the drone.
Right, you can't do that with a drone.
Exactly. So unless you had a very easy way to like counter it, it's kind of pointless. And
Yeah.
also on top, everyone just bring their own drone. That's a lot of safety issues,
Exactly.
both for personnel on the field, but also
Idea.
legal. Because
Great idea, but what if people could have a drone, but they attach a helium balloon to the top of it, and they need to pop, and when it pops, it does.
that string is a safety issue.
That's what I was thinking with the blades.
Mhm.
What if I don't know, but I like what you're thinking there. That you.
But
have
still,
the
you're shooting
target.
up at the drone.
That's,
Yeah.
you could, yeah.
And if you block the propellers and the whole drone to where even if it's shot, it's fine, then the drone's not going to be able to fly.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
okay.
that wouldn't, unfortunately, wouldn't work.
That's yeah.
Also, there's the other thing. My drone was right about $1,000, and so I don't want my $1,000 drone
Yeah.
being shot out of the sky.
Long story short, for drones,
Is a
yeah.
no-go.
it's
Without
the idea
yeah.
of it. People like, but in practicality, it would not work.
It would not work in
Without
airsoft with
lots,
legal issues
yeah.
and balance issues.
Without lots of game designer interference.
Correct. It would
But
have
if you
to be
did that, it'd be really cool.
for the drones to be used in airsoft practically and legally. You would have to have a dedicated team of staff and or event staff that are using it for the event specific.
Or like I said, you could have it set up where the staff has. The game designers said that there's an objective here. If you capture it, they lose control of the drone.
Yes,
Or something like
yeah,
that.
but still, that was going to require a team.
That's
of
more like
event
a frag
staff
or mini mission and
for-
not
Well, like I said, it's
operation.
a side mission,
Yeah.
side quest.
Either way, it's not the public coming in with their own drones.
Yeah.
So
So
for an average player bringing their own drone,
Is-
it's not,
it's a
unless
very bad
purely
idea.
For recording.
if it's purely for recording purposes, so you are not playing at all, you have no contact with the rest of your peers, you have no kit out there to be fighting, you're out there essentially as a but at that point you're a
spectator.
game staff, and then also depending on what you're doing with that footage, if you're just using it for fun in your own place, that's fine. But if you're expecting to get money or advertisement through it, even like for example my YouTube, I'm not making money on YouTube, but if I'm recording with my drone for YouTube to advertise me so I can get more viewers and subscribers, that would technically be commercially, and I
Well,
would
in
need a
either
license.
way, it's not just fun anymore. You're recording it for a purpose.
Exactly.
So you need to be licensed.
Exactly, and so that's the other thing is licenses and everything, which I am licensed, and so it would be stuff like that. So, end of the story would be drones for airsoft, cool, but can't do it practically unless you have a team of dedicated event staff, or you are going out there just to do a quick recording. Like for example, what I might do would be I go to a new AO like Milsim West or AMS, and I want to get some cool drone shots to include in my video after the fact.
Yeah.
That be perfectly fine. I'm using it before the event, and there's no one on the field. No one should have mags or guns used for anything, so I can go there. And that's why, like, technically you would try to show up the day before, like a Friday, if the event starts on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I would go there early, get all my stuff done, talk to the event management, and say, hey, I'm gonna kind of get some drone shots. I already did all the legal stuff. There's no problems with airspace and all that. And then guess what? They're going to be all for it.
Yeah.
In their mind, it's more publicity. And in fact, if you're a certified drone pilot trying to get some jobs, guess what? You get to go to a fun airsoft event and then possibly get your foot in the door and say, hey, I can do advertisements for you with drone shots.
Yeah.
And it's a big possibility. A lot of cool stuff you can do. It's just know your laws. And the problem is the FAA, or I mean all the drone companies, you can buy drones. You can buy like air hog drone stuff even in Walmart and stuff, but nobody is taught the regulations.
Yeah.
It's like a terms of service on the box. You click a check mark and you're good to go type of a thing. But it is not just like regulations as far as keeping people following the law. It's like safety, similar to like don't pass in a double lane of traffic type of a thing.
With exceptions.
Double lane or double yellow lines, the only exception would be like a hazard light car or stalled car or object in road.
Yeah.
Which technically, as a certified pilot as well, or technically recreational, I can break some of these regulations if safe, if it's going to make something safer. Like for example, if I need to fly above 400 feet or into restricted airspace because a plane got off route and it was going to hit me or something, or something to maintain safety, I had to do that. But I would have to have a good reason, and to an extent, depending on what it is, I would have to contact the FAA about it and everything.
Wow.
So it's a big thing. But either way, it'd be cool, but it's just not really a good way to use it practically.
Yeah.
And I'll probably end up like making a separate video about that specifically, just so people can reference back to using drones in airsoft.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I think that's most of all of our talking points
That's
for
it
today.
Yeah.
That's it for today. We did it.
We did it.
We did it. I mean, guys, thank you so much for watching. We're going to try to be doing more of these in the future. You probably already know, since this is going to be like the last video segment, I'll probably split these up into 15 to 30 minute video sections and upload them like that instead of it all as 1 hour half long recording. But we'll see what I end up doing. Either way, guys, let me know in the comments of different talking points you guys want us to talk about next, or if you have any questions regarding drones and use of airsoft legally and all that stuff, put them in the comments. And if I don't know the answer, which I should, I'm a certified pilot, but if you got some weird question or scenario you're asking about, I'll get you the answer. But then, guys, got anything else? No? Okay. All right. That said, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.